This is Brighton Royal Pavilion. It looks like a wedding cake, doesn't it? And in fact, it was almost a wedding cake. This is the town of Brighton, and this is the seafront. Back in 1817, King George IV was getting married. He was looking for somewhere nice to shack up before the big day. Now, normally, if you're getting married, you have to live in the same place as your future spouse. But back then, for a king, that wasn't an option. See, the king was already married. This was his second marriage. His first wife, the German Princess Charlotte, had died. They'd had a very public disagreement about the whole getting married thing, and she'd kicked the bucket as a result. The king was keen not to let that happen again. So he decided that for his second marriage, he would marry in secret. So he came down here to Brighton and set up home at this rather splendid-looking house called the Pavilion. He hired decorators to give it a lick of paint. But they didn't quite finish the job in time for the wedding. So as the newlyweds were arriving, they had to decorate the place as they went. Hence the slightly odd color choices. No one really knows what these patterns are supposed to represent. Some people think that maybe they were inspired by the King's Indian Palace in Brighton, which he'd visited on his world tour. Others think that maybe it was just meant to look exotic. Whatever the reason, it looked splendid. The king and his new bride spent their honeymoon here. They took long walks along the seafront. They rode in horse-drawn carriages, and they took the waters at the newly built Regency Town Hall, which is now a casino. That's where all the cool people go, right? The king loved it so much that he came back year after year. In fact, he ended up spending half of every year here until his death in 1830. And when he died, his counselors made sure that his body was embalmed and then transported up to London in a golden coffin so that his heart could be buried here and his body could be buried at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. After his death, the pavilion fell into disuse, and it was clear that something had to be done with it because it was fast falling into disrepair. So the town bought it from the king's widow and threw open the doors to the public. The people of Brighton had other ideas for how it could be used, though. They wanted to turn it into a concert hall, or maybe a hospital, or even a prison. But in the end, it was decided that it should be kept exactly as it was, a museum dedicated to the memory of the king. And that's why it stayed exactly as it was since the 1830s. I love this place. It's so bizarre. Why would anyone want a normal house when they could have a giant wedding cake? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Now, if you're visiting Brighton and you want to see this splendid sight for yourself, it's right in the center of town. You can't miss it. The only weird thing is that to get in, you have to go through a rather uninspiring modern extension. Here it is up close. This is the ticket office and gift shop. It doesn't look like much, does it? But behind this wall is a whole other world. So make sure you push the door open and step inside. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.